Everybody, and welcome to our March 12th regular council meeting. I'd like to call the meeting to order, please. Is everything on? Yeah. Could we have an adoption of the minutes of the February 26th? All of the ones listed in March 5th special council, unless there are any amendments or changes to those.
I'll move that.
Councillor Peake. Councillor Holmes, thank you. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Okay, a resolution to adopt the agenda. Have we got any changes, Mr. Chairman?
There are no modifications.
No changes? Okay.
Flip the switch.
Oh, really? I'm sorry. Okay, we need a motion to adopt tonight's agenda, please. Councillor Barkwell, Councillor Trainer, thank you. All in favor? Thank you. Carried. We have no public hearings, we have no delegations, so we're looking at the opportunity for public commentary, and that'll be 2 minutes per person, please, or less. So anybody like to come forward, please? Yeah, we tried to make it difficult, Chris.
Good evening. My name is Chris Beaton. I live at 6509 Cuthbert Road, and I have a comment regarding budget agenda item number 12.4, financial update. And my comment is as follows. Not a new story. You've heard the story before. But I think that council should seriously consider to do something about our roads. Our roads are terrible. People make fun of our roads. People from Saskatchewan make fun of our roads. And if you've been to Saskatchewan, you know how humiliating that is, to have people come and make fun of our roads here. There's no shoulders, there's no place for bikes, they're just in a terrible condition. I often hear that we have low taxes here, and we seem to be proud of that. We seem to kind of hoist our flag on the fact that we have low taxes. I'm not so sure why we're so proud of that, because we seem to have a very small number of services, particularly in terms of roads, sidewalks, shoulders, pick a topic. So my hope is that on March 22nd, at the public meeting, that there actually will be a budget line for more than just fixing potholes, that we can actually pave something, anything, and hopefully get some decent roads in this town. So, thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Is there anybody else? Okay, thank you. So we'll move on to my report. Can everybody hear me okay? Good. The last 2 weeks have had some significant highlights. Saturday, March 3rd was the Summerland Chamber's 80th Annual Awards Gala. The Chamber did an excellent job. The move to hold the event in the theater has proven again to be a wonderful venue. Brodo provided a full range of appies, Bruce Crawford, background music, and Ken Shira not only did a fantastic on-stage light performance, but also provided a walkabout light performance during the reception. Put together, the result was a very sophisticated and entertaining evening. This is where I really have to be careful about this line. Eric, do you want to leave now, or? Anyway, Chamber President Eric Thompson was a great MC whose sense of humor made the evening very lively. I left out the caustic humor and the other stuff that I could have put in there. I had the distinct pleasure of awarding, moving on, I had the distinct pleasure of awarding the Mayor's Award of Excellence to the Summerland branch of the Royal Canadian Legion. The Legion is heavily involved in many community functions, and I felt the award was well deserved. This past Thursday and Friday, 124 grade 4 and 120 grade 4 and grade 5 students from Giants Head Elementary did a field trip to Municipal Hall. Students were chosen to be mayor and councillors, the CAO, corporate officer, director of public works, CFO, director of planning. We ran through opening a meeting, etc., and I prepped each student with the necessary phrases to move a meeting along. Actually, it went very well, surprisingly easier than, say, tonight. The students had a great time delivering their reports. The rest of the class were the public and had the opportunity to make comments to the council and staff. Another topic, the community was awarded $6 million in federal gas tax funding for our solar array and battery storage project. A pre-feasibility study was done last year to make the application. This funding will allow for the full feasibility work plus putting the array in place and connecting it to our grid. Am I right there? Have I made pretty good? Okay, just so I perk up. It's a great first step and will provide 1 megawatt of solar power and 2 megawatts of battery storage. This will provide 1/93rd of the 93 gigawatt hours that the community uses, moving us towards greater resiliency and sustainability. So that's my report. CS.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd just like to announce to council that this afternoon, CUPE Local 1136 ratified the collective agreement. Council also ratified the agreement, so we now have a new agreement. We did want to make a joint statement, but they will be making their own statement. So we have a 5-year term beginning January 1st, 2018 for a 5-year period. So we're very excited. As we reported to council, bargaining was very successful. We've been bargaining a number of sessions over the past couple of months with a bargaining team made up of 5 of our management staff here, and we're very glad to continue moving forward. And since the CART rollout was in the newsletter last month, it brought the attention forefront that we'll be making this conversion in on July the 1st or near about July the 1st. So staff has been very busy. They've been starting to get a lot of phone calls, people coming in. And we are, as we reported at the last meeting, making sure that we're walking individuals through what the program's going to look like, and trying to address the individual concerns. Just with different types of residences, there's different challenges, and so we've been taking those and trying to deal with people as they come. And I think that's my report for today.
Good, thank you. Okay, moving on to 10.1. No, pardon me, 9.1.
Yeah, 9.1, there are a couple of resolutions brought forward. The first one relates to the solar project. At the committee of the whole this morning, an integrated solar project review staff report was received by council, and that report is in the agenda for the committee of the whole of this morning, and I believe the PowerPoint presentation will be available.
Right, so council passed. Are you going to ask for them to pass the recommendation?
Yeah, might as well
What
do it
number?
formally. So the resolution was that the integrated solar project review staff report dated March 12th, 2018 be received for information.
Okay, where are you going to put that?
We could do it right now.
We do it right now.
Okay. Okay, council, one of you like to bring that? Thank you, Councillor Holmes. Councillor Peak? Any points? I think that's it. All in favor? Opposed? Good.
So really what we should just say is that council had their first opportunity since receiving the grant to look at have a thorough review of where we're at with the solar feasibility studies, and to be looking forward to the next steps, which will involve looking at the sites that have been identified as technically possible. Once that comes forward to council, we'll be looking at the other aspects, social, environmental, having public consultation periods so that it can be determined how to move forward from there.
Was there one more?
There's one more. This is from the closed session of February 26th. This morning, council passed the resolution to bring this forward to tonight's meeting. And the resolution is as follows. It's that the offer from Broad Street Properties Limited and Seymour Pacific Developments Limited, Alder Heights Holdings Limited, to purchase both Lot 1 Plan 41467 DL 3640 ODYD and Lot A Plan EPP 21559 DL 3640 ODYD for a combined $1,989,000 be accepted, and that the mayor and corporate officer be authorized to execute all agreements for this transaction.
We do have a media release in that regard that's available, just explaining exactly what we talked about, and no resolution is required.
So that's it? Okay. Good. Moving on to correspondence. Does anybody on any of the councillors have anything they want to bring forward from the correspondence list? of which there's plenty. None? Okay. Do we have a motion to receive the correspondence for information, please? Councillor Peak? Councillor Booth, thank you. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank
Mayor,
you.
one
What were you gonna say?
May I add just one more thing to my report?
Sure.
Very sorry. I meant to say that just in response to Mr. Beaton's comments about the roads and the budget, we didn't formally announce that we had put in an application to the gas tax grant for $6 million also for Giant's Head Road. We've done the preliminary or the engineering, the detailed engineering on that project. It was denied for funding on that project, and we will be having a debrief by the funders so that we may prepare it, an application, and address any shortcomings in the next round of infrastructure funding if that's where council decides to go.
Okay, thank you. Okay, moving on to Development Services. Mr. Strachan, 11.1.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this is an application to have a restrictive covenant released. Back in 2005, council passed a development variance permit, and as part of that process, put a covenant on the property that restricted a carport to be open only. So the carport was supposed to be open on the sides as well as the front. However, they were given permission back in that time to construct walls on two sides. Now they've come back and are requesting to release the covenant in order to install a garage door. In that time period, the roadway that's adjacent to the home has changed in classification from a collector to a local road. So the road width has changed. So the restriction and concerns around safety or vehicles backing out would not be able to see traffic coming from either direction when this road was expanded sometime in the future is no longer the case, as the road won't be expanded as far. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Council Barkwell.
Yeah, I'm
Question?
curious about the change of the road from a collector to a local road. When was that change made? And it just seems like not the direction we would go in with all the development in that area.
So the change was made when the official community plan was redone, and the alteration to make that road to a 16-meter right-of-way width from 20 meters.
So that was the official community plan that this council adopted just after we were
In
elected.
2015,
Yeah.
correct.
Councillor Holmes.
I had the same question, actually, and you know, I was just wondering, why is it, I have no recollection at all discussing, when we're making those OCP changes, I have no recollection at all of even discussing road classifications, let alone approving any changes of them. So I'm just wondering how,
Happens to us all, Councillor Holmes.
well, I just, you know, I don't know, I'd like to know if the rest of the council has any such recollection, and, because it's first
Actually,
I've heard of it.
It makes sense to me that it wouldn't be a collector. Your roads from that area to the highway, like Johnson, may be designated as a collector, but I wouldn't see the across street like Nixon to be a collector road. Collector implies that you're pooling stuff to move to a higher level as well. Go ahead.
That's not my issue. My issue is I don't remember us doing this. I remember lots of discussion about that OCP, about different lands in West Prairie Valley, and I remember all kinds of discussions we had about that, but I don't remember any discussion at all about road reclassification.
Okay, Councillor Peak, we'll
Yeah.
maybe get Mr. Strachan in a minute to, if you want to add anything, Mr. Strachan.
I'd like to ask a question of Mr.
Go ahead.
Strachan, if I might. Could you tell us the difference between a local and a collector and why there might have been a change?
I'll actually refer this question over to Chris.
Yeah, so typically the difference is the width of the right-of-way and width of the roadway. So a local is typically a couple meters less in width, so it wouldn't handle the higher traffic volumes that you would see on a collector. So as the mayor pointed out, collectors would typically be those major thoroughfares that are channeling the traffic from one area to a major arterial such as the highway. So the road on Johnson Street in Trout Creek is designated as a collector, but all the other internal roads right now are local.
Thank you very much, Chris. If I may, when you reduce, and I think it's to 16 from 20 in this particular case,
Correct.
is there accommodation for a pathway or a sidewalk on road widths that are at a local level?
Yeah, there's still provisions for pedestrian corridors through there. Either as sidewalks or, in a rural case, as a paved shoulder on the side of the road.
Yes.
Yep.
Thank you very much.
Okay, but to Chris, but when it comes to Trout Creek, with respect to sidewalks and so on, there's as you've mentioned in the past, drainage difficulties that make it more difficult to actually put solid surfaces in place.
Correct, so that's where you'd look at expanding the road surface
Yeah.
to accommodate other modes of traffic on the shoulder.
Yeah, I see. Okay, thanks. Anybody else? Counselor Trainer?
I don't have a problem with this variance, but I'm like Councillor Holmes. I don't remember a discussion about road reclassification. It could have happened, but I don't recall it.
Yeah,
Specifically.
Probably, to be fair, and I apologize for my attempt at humor, but yeah, I actually don't recall that kind of detail with respect to Nixon and the others. But as a general change-up, when we did do the changes in the OCP, I can see where that would be something that would be considered, given what Mr. Johnson just described. So, but the absolute specifics of Nixon versus any other road, I don't recall either. So, Councillor Boot.
As Councillor Trainer just said, she and I believe it was the mayor, and I'm not sure who else, sat on that select committee to review the OCP. I don't remember any discussion about roads either. What I recall was that we were discussing primarily the urban growth area,
Yeah.
and the rescinding of the ALR things was kind of already done. But that's what I recall. I don't remember talking about roads at all. I'm just wondering, maybe, Mr. Strachan, if this was discussed as an amendment prior to the 2015 amendments to the OCP? Like prior to us being on council, so that would have been in late 2014?
I'm not sure
Because
if the
there's-
road classifications would have changed independently. The record sort of indicates that this came through as a revised schedule of the OCP with the revision in 2015.
Okay.
And I don't recall any comment or mention about specific Trout Creek roads prior to, in the past council
Yeah, I
either.
don't-
Mrs. Strachan, yes, just before
Right.
you. Okay, go ahead, Councillor Barkle.
Yeah. In reviewing items for this meeting, I went to the OCP and had a look at some aspects of it. And I didn't see a map for collector roads for Trout Creek in the website that I went to. It had a map, Schedule A, and the collector roads marked on it for the uptown area of Summerland, but I didn't find one for Trout Creek at all. So that's sort of a comment there. Maybe our staff could look into that. Maybe it was just my searching inability. The other question I have, Mr. Strachan referred to a 16-meter road versus a 20-meter road. So is the road allowance there currently 20 meters?
No, the current road allowance, exact dimension I'm unsure of, so let me look at it right now.
Maybe it varies from spot to spot.
It does. It changes from lot to lot depending on dedication and the time it was subdivided. The right-of-way required dedication if it was going to remain at 20 meters, but at the 16 meters, I don't believe it requires dedication. Just checking. Yeah, it meets the requirement at this point in time.
I think, the point here is, though, that this OCP states at this point that it is not a collector road, correct?
That's correct.
So, in terms of how it relates to this particular application, since it's designated now as not a collector road, then the variance that's required or asked for with respect to this garage door applies to current situation with the OCP.
And I can't really speak too much because I wasn't here at the time when the OCP was
Yeah,
done.
but that doesn't
But I
matter.
can speak to sort
Yeah.
of why, at this point, I would not recommend that to be a collector. It's a neighborhood, and having collector roads with expanded right-of-ways naturally increases traffic speed. So wherever you're expanding your asphalt surface and making it easier to go faster is a conflict, especially when you have lots of driveway accesses. You've got lots of people moving in around in the streets. And the traffic volumes in this neighborhood are not high enough to warrant the need for people to go that fast. So if this was going to be a collector, there would need to be significantly more development taking place than is taking place in the neighborhood in Trump Creek right now. Including collector going this direction through that neighborhood would be intrusive for not just the residents that are directly adjacent to it, but people that use that corridor as a walking corridor as well.
Yeah. In fact, it could be that people might object to it being designated as a collector road.
Good.
Yeah. Councillor Barco, we need to move ahead.
I think the other side of the coin Mr. Strachan just spoke about is the fact that whether a collector road in that area would actually change the volume of traffic or just provide a better road, a safer road for the volume of traffic that's there already. Because really, it's not through to anywhere. It's serving just the people that we have in that area. And that population is growing with Lighthouse Landing and Nixon Road and other possibilities, plus the fact that there's a school there. So all those side of things sort of argue for, and were probably part of the view of why it was ever designated as a collector, just to be able to better handle the traffic that's using that road anyway.
Yeah, I think the counter to that, though, is what Mr. Strachan stated, that, a wider road influences traffic speed. And I don't think that's something we want to encourage in front of a school. Councillor, Mr. Strachan?
One of the primary principles of traffic calming, so reducing speed, is to narrow the roadways.
I see, yeah.
And narrow them particularly as you approach intersections. It naturally forces people to slow down. Where you don't have controlled intersections, you got stop signs and sidewalks and lots of people moving up and down. It's a neighborhood where lots of people are walking. It can create higher speeds for vehicles.
Okay, I think we had Councillor Holmes and Councillor Peak, I believe.
Yeah, I just have a question. Are covenant discharge requests required to go to the neighbors for information, the way variances applications are, or not?
No.
No? So the neighbors wouldn't know anything about this? That
Yeah,
this request is being
So
made?
would they be necessarily objecting to a garage door? 'Cause that's
I don't
what we're
know.
looking at.
Yeah, just a question.
Yeah. Mr. Strachan, go ahead, Mr. Strachan. and then
The
Councillor
original
Peak.
development variance permit would have gone through that process. However, discharging the covenant to allow for the front of the garage to be closed would not.
Councillor Peak?
I was going to bring the resolution forward
Okay,
if
thank
there's
you.
been enough
Yeah.
discussion. So I'll bring the resolution that staff be directed to discharge the restrictive covenant with respect to enclosing an existing carport on Lot 1, Plan KAP 6038 at 6019 Nixon Road.
You have a seconder, please? Councillor Traynor, thank you. Okay, any further discussion? Councillor Barkle?
Yes, Mr. Strachan's report says that the original covenant said that the north, south, and west sides had to be kept open, and you commented somewhere along the line they were allowed to cover or enclose the north and the south sides. How did that happen?
I don't know. The owner was given authorization during construction to close in those two sides, and they were done at the construction time. I have no records telling me why they were allowed to do that.
So that's against the current covenant?
It's against the current covenant,
Yeah.
but it was done at the time of the carport's construction.
So would that have had a building inspection at the time?
That's correct.
It would have, yeah. Okay, thank you. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Carried, thank you. One opposed. Okay, Mr. Strachan, 11.2.
So the next application we have is a OCP amendment and rezoning for property at 12914 Prairie Valley Road. This particular application is for a property that has both area within the ALR and area that's been approved, subject to a subdivision to be excluded from the ALR. And the application is to sever the two areas from each other and rezone the portion that's coming out from A1 to country residential. So this piece of land on the western portion did not meet the criteria to remain in the ALR, so it's being excluded, and the remainder to stay in would be retained as a separate parcel. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Okay, questions of the planner and council? Councillor Trainer.
The section that is proposed to be taken out, if that was to be developed, where would that person, or if they were to build on there, where would they access it? From above?
Yeah, so we actually have a bit of it, because this is a corner, a rising and then falling corner. So engineering, you'll see in our report, did express concern with having an access to this property. So there is notification that's been provided to the owner and would form part of the PLA that they would need to access through the existing access point. So they would have to get an easement registered on this part that would be severed from the western part and have a shared driveway that comes across to access the building sites at the bottom of the steep hill.
So they can't access it from above?
Not through the property. If they were to access this area here, they would have to access from above. But the proposals that have been presented to date would be to put a home at the bottom. So if there's a steep bank that comes off the roadway, then it's a gentle slope and then it rises significantly from there. But they would have to have their driveway access from further back on Prairie Valley Road where the existing driveway is. Due to limitations, this driveway would be problematic from a safety perspective for us.
And is that a permitted use then, in ALR land, to have an access driveway to another property?
Through the access point, as long as it's existing infrastructure, correct.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, any other questions? Councillor Peak.
I make note that in the report, it says that if the property's on the environmentally sensitive development permit area, so if it was approved, it would have to have a development permit?
That's correct. So if, before subdivision would be permitted, they would need to apply to council for an environmental DP. So we would bring forward a report with the RP Bio's summary, explaining what components they need to protect on this particular site, and what slopes would be protected as well. And there may be a requirement for a geotechnical report to be prepared to demonstrate if there's buildable sites on the property.
Councillor Peak.
Have we received any correspondence from anyone on this?
None that I'm aware of.
Thank you.
Councillor Booth.
In putting forward this application, do we know what kind of subdivision is being proposed there? Is it just simply a subdivision of one lot from another, or is there, I mean, it's going to country residential, so how many lots would be on there?
The site is somewhat limited, so the only two development sites that have been presented to us so far have been for 2 lots at the bottom that would sever just this property in half. But as was noted, there was at some point in the past discussion about potential for lots at the top, but there is a difficult access point and there's limited space there. They would have to explore that more. And as country residential, the minimum lot area would be 1 hectare, so they would need to rezone if they wish to add more than the 2 lots that were originally presented. At this point, their subdivision is just to sever the ALR piece from the non-ALR piece. They would have to apply for a further subdivision in order to subdivide the parcel into two lots. And at that point, would need to demonstrate 2 buildable areas and a shared driveway that meets engineering requirements.
Okay, and with this area, if that does go, that proposal does go through, with this area not being in the urban growth area, does that impact the possibility for further subdivision, or how would that work?
Further subdivision would require inclusion in the urban growth area.
Okay.
One other note from the report, excuse me, as council originally had put forward a proposal to require this ALR portion to be a 2-hectare lot, and the ALC did come back with a differing ruling on it. They prefer to have the ALR only in the parcel and not include a portion that was 0.6 hectares to make this a 2-hectare parcel. So the second resolution that you see there is around what the ALC's request was to not just add in this little corner of non-ALR to the parcel, it's non-farmable area, to make it meet that criteria. Instead, asking council to consider a regulation within that zone that allows you to create a smaller lot to have only the ALR piece within the parcel.
Thank you.
Councillor Holmes.
Is that kind of a change of thinking on part of the ALC? I mean, that they're not so stuck on these 2-hectare size lots anymore?
I think it's more around just trying to retain ALR lands within the parcel, more so, and not including extra lands for regulation purposes unless there's purpose. So if it was going to be an opportunity for the home site, or it was going to be an opportunity to supplement the ALR lands, but this particular case is just adding in pure area. It's a very steep component, so there's no functional use that it could be for the farm practice on the property.
Or for building another home there,
Correct.
like for home site severance, yeah.
Okay. Good. Someone like to bring, thank you, Mr.
I'll move the resolution as written in the
Okay.
agenda.
Seconder, please. Councillor Holmes, thank you. Any further discussion? Councillor Holmes?
Yeah, I just want to comment that, I mean, this did come to us a couple of years ago when we made the recommendation to the LR, and I think they're just following through on what they said they were going to do at the time, and it's we supported it then. I see no reason why not to support it now. So.
Exactly. But this will go to the APC, right? Yeah. Councillor Peak?
Yes, Mr. Strachan, this recommendation goes to the APC and the Agriculture Advisory Committee. Does it then come back to council?
It will come back to council with a further report that includes any recommendations or resolutions that come from those committees. And if no further information is received, we'll likely bring forward the bylaw itself for consideration of first and second reading and scheduling a public hearing.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Okay, moving on to 11.3, Mr. Strachan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a development variance permit application for 7001 Nixon Road. This application is to rebuild a single-family dwelling on the property. They're proposing to encroach into the front yard setback area, reducing that setback. The existing garage does encroach into this area. However, the proposal is to add a second floor to that portion of the property, but wouldn't encroach further as far as site plan into the right-of-way area. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Questions?
Did you, Jeremy,
Jeremy,
receive any correspondence?
Any correspondence?
Oh,
I'm
sorry,
sorry, we
no.
should have, yeah, any correspondence?
No, none was received.
Okay, I guess we can hear from the proponent, can't we?
Yes, please.
Yes. Would you like to, anybody, proponent, would you like to?
My apologies.
It's okay.
My apologies, I didn't understand I was supposed to speak at the beginning. It wasn't a highlighted item in here. But I'm the resident across the road from it.
Just a minute, please.
So ask if the proponent is here first of all, and then.
Yeah, okay. Is the proponent in the audience? No, not here, so, okay, go ahead, because basically there's an opportunity for the public to speak in this anyway, so you can go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship, and Honorable Council and the staff members. I'll be very brief. I have spoken to staff. I've also spoken to the applicant, so fairly well versed on all this. My name is John Chapman. I reside at 1307 Laidlaw, which is right across the road from it, from the said property. While not opposed to the variance application permit being approved, I do have a couple of questions or concerns. One regarding the impact on our property, and the other one regarding a potential safety issue. I just have some photos, if I could distribute those to the council members. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you very much.
That's the view out our living room window. I find myself in a unique position to even input on what somebody else should and should not be able to do on their property. I'm actually in support of anybody being able to put in additional affordable housing for an income-producing suite in the home that meets all the bylaws. Also, as I said, I've spoken to the applicant, and I congratulated her on the process that she's been through with both the provincial government to satisfy the riparian area and all the other approvals that are needed. My question or concern is just the impact. And I've posed the same question to her. Is there any way of mitigating the impact of the stark look of the side of the garage that is now going to be 2 stories? And I just learned today that the colors in this image that was distributed is actually going to be the stark white that will reflect the afternoon sunshine into our living room window, and the black roof. It's quite a contrast. All of the other homes in there are quite natural earth tones in that. So there is that implication on our potential impact on our property. And she had not answered whether something could be done to just mitigate that visual impact. The second is the concern about the garage door. As you can see on the picture there, it appears that it's glass, and again, I did mention this to her. That is directly in line as you drive north on Nixon Road before you take the corner. Recently, somebody did go through the corner a little too rapidly or wasn't paying attention and ended up in her garage. My concern is that the reflection from headlights coming along Nixon looking north, if that was just not glass, that would also make it. So these are fairly cosmetic concerns. As I said, we don't wish to oppose the location. She's building on the existing footprint, and it meets all the other conditions in the bylaws and provincial regulations.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay. Do any other members of the public wish to speak? Okay. Okay, council, questions of the planner at all? Councillor Traynor.
I did talk to Mr. Strachan about this morning. I also, I live in Trout Creek, so I did see that a couple months ago there was somebody that missed that corner and ended up right in the garage. And I just wanted to know if he could explain again why that's not an issue in terms of the setback. And then secondly, I don't know too much about glass reflections, but is that an issue, and do we have any say over that?
Councillor, Mr. Strachan.
As far as the question about reflection on the headlights, I'll defer that to Chris, our engineer. The driveway access is the existing access point for the property. So there is maneuvering space, and you show the maneuvering space on the site plans to allow the vehicles to turn, to exit the garage and turn, as well as to maneuver on the property. As far as reflection from the glass from headlights, Chris?
It is a unique setup with the way the house is situated in the garage on the lot. So it could be an issue. It could be something that we could question the applicant on as far as the materials that they're proposing. But just with the way it's situated on the lot and the way the travel path of the road is by there, it is beyond the curve, but it could be a concern right at that corner. To me, it's a unique situation that we'd have to assess with the applicant and at least bring it to their attention.
Guys,
Go ahead.
I think it's worth it, because just having seen that crash a couple months ago, and then given that it is so close to where the bend is, I think that it's worth just investigating.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Councillor Holmes.
Yeah, and just further to the other concern that was raised in terms of the color of the building, I assume that we don't really have any authority to tell people what color they can paint their houses, and we don't really have anything in our bylaws about that, or maybe if somebody could clarify.
Mr. Strachan?
Color's a difficult thing. That the component, though, that there was reference to is not just the coloration, but the starkness of the wall. So that is the portion of building that's proposed to encroach into the front yard area. So there is an opportunity, if council wish, to request additional articulation on that portion of the building. They could also request that the applicant use an alternate color to white or pure white to reduce the reflectivity of the building itself. But that is a garage component of the building. Council could certainly request that they go with a non-reflective material for the garage door, as well as add a garage window, which would add to the articulation on that side of the building, reducing the starkness of the wall, and could request consideration of a different color if they wished.
When you, just to sort of understand a bit better, you're saying the garage, that whole new addition could be articulated at a slightly different angle than what it is right now? Is that what you're saying?
The site is quite narrow and is directly adjacent to the lake. So the riparian regulations restrict you from getting further encroaching. So you see how the spiel line comes right across the middle of the building site? The only reason they're being permitted to even have this portion of the building in it is it's existing.
Yeah.
So they can't push this further into the property. So this is sort of what they're stuck with as far as configuration. But this portion, you can see this line cutting across here. This is where the front yard setback area is.
Yeah.
So this portion of the building is encroaching in there. So council could set conditions as part of the variance for the garage doors, for example, to be non-reflective to prevent conflict with future traffic and prevent reflection of sun, as well as they could request additional openings be added to that wall facing towards the street because it is in closer proximity to the roadway, and request additional windows, which would be at the garage level, which would provide some articulation to the building. And they could request some coloration changes to a less reflective color if they wished, as a condition of the variance approval.
Personally, I can see the difficulty, even from a standpoint of if headlights are directly reflecting in there, they may be, I don't know whether there's an opportunity for them to come right back onto the driver, but, there's maybe some element of safety there as well. Go ahead. Mr. Strachan first.
I wish the applicant was here because I would ask, this may just be a design liberty that was taken to show how that garage door is to be done. I'm not seeing a garage door constructed in that format, and especially directly adjacent to where people were walking, not only for safety and security reasons, but one rock in the wintertime and you got a pane of glass that's gone. So I'm not sure this is really actually intended to truly be a glass garage door as much as just the designers taking liberties. But if council made it a condition of the variance, then it would need to be adhered to that building permit, and they'd be required to have a non-reflective material, whether it's going to be metal door or some form of composite. It would be required to be non-reflective when it would address the issue.
Personally, I would like to see some of those adjustments suggested that you've made to assist in, in how it looks, if that's within our purview, which apparently it is.
So there's two sort of paths that council could take. They could request the applicant to make those changes, and or they could actually require it as a condition of the development variance approval. So if you made it a condition of the development variance approval, in order to get a building permit, their building designs would be required to include those components. So if you included a requirement that they have additional openings in this wall to reduce increase the articulation in the wall, as well as to have a non-reflective surface on the garage door, those would become conditions of the building permit. They wouldn't be just requests.
Yeah, okay.
So those are the two. So you can either request if you wish, and then it's at the, we don't have a hammer to force it, or you can make it a condition of the variance where it would become a requirement.
Okay. Councillor Peak, you had a question? Or
Yes, and I appreciate the further discussion. I think that I would like to see both those conditions as part of the approval, the non-reflective door and consideration for color change. on the sidewall. If someone else on council would like to see a greater articulation, I'm not quite clear whether that gets to the component of reflective or not on the wall itself.
Councillor Holmes?
I think what Mr. Strachan was suggesting, which is what I agree, is that one condition being a non-reflective material on the garage door, and the other being an additional opening on the side of the garage. And I think those are the two conditions that I would like to see put on. I think enforcing color is might be a bit over the top and difficult.
More difficult to accommodate.
Okay, so how do you feel? Can someone like to bring something forward that includes those conditions? Councillor Holmes?
Yeah, I'll bring forward, where's the original motion here? I'll bring forward the recommended variance motion be approved as written with the conditions that there are no reflective materials used for the garage door, and that there's an additional opening such as a window on the side of the garage wall, on the wall of the garage. If that makes sense.
Okay, do we have a seconder? Councillor Trainer, thank you. Any further discussion? Councillor Booth?
I personally would like to, I would rather see staff have a chance to speak to the proponent. Just to see if this is, like Mr. Strachan said, the reflective glass, or the glass, I guess, is not necessarily what their intention is. It may just be the way that the drawing was done. I would prefer that staff had the chance to speak to the proponent, to talk to them about these two changes, and rather than, I think it's a little heavy-handed to say, yeah, you can do this, but, we're going to say you have to put another window in and remove the materials on the door. I think that, if that conversation might be all that it takes, and we don't know this at this point because the proponent isn't here tonight.
Yeah. Okay, Councillor Barkle?
I think that these changes are relatively minor. I think a door would be, probably well accepted, and I would suspect that they're not really hung up on glass. It seems like a really unlikely thing to have as a garage door, and that they would probably like to see this pass now so they can get ahead with the project and to go through any more further consultation and discussion.
Good point. Just, Mr. Councillor Holmes, it is interesting, though, a new house went in across the street from me, glass doors.
Garage doors?
Garage doors, glass. It was sort of a whitened glass, but I immediately thought, boy, I'm sure I don't want to back into that. At any rate, Councillor Holmes.
Yeah, I agree with that. It would be nice if the proponents are here so we could, talk to them and find out exactly what they were thinking. And I don't know, you don't want to be heavy-handed, but at the same time, they probably want, as Councillor Barkle said, they want to move on this, and if they have no intention of putting glass doors, then it's no big deal if there's a condition not to put glass doors, I'd say we're probably doing them a bigger favor by approving it tonight and moving it along.
Okay. Anything further? If not, all in favor? Opposed? Thank you. One opposed. Motion's carried.
I'm not opposed.
I
was
said,
just-
said one opposed.
No, I said I am not opposed.
Oh, I thought you were.
Yeah, I was just late in putting the...
Oh, you were late. Okay. I did ask. I did. You just didn't get your hand up, and I just, anyway. Okay. 12.1. Who's handling this? Memorial washroom upgrades.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm following up on Council's request to consider Memorial Park washrooms as potential upgrades for that location. The staff visited the site and did a bit of a review of a few different options and did some costing options out for that. And our recommendations is that before putting any significant funds into that facility, we first finish our Parks and Recreation Master Plan, which will be done by the end of spring, and it will allow us to look at, excuse me, all the recommendations coming out of that plan and prioritize against each other. And also, the completion of the downtown neighborhood plan would also be valuable to look at that plan before making any significant investments, to see if that plan also looks into public washrooms in the downtown area. So that is our recommendation at this time. We would still look at doing regular opening preparations, which would include a full painting of the inside, fixing any broken fixtures, doing a deep clean. And we also noticed the garbage receptacles need replacing, so we would do that as well.
Okay, does that include a sort of an interior paint job
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. Questions, Councillor Peak?
Well, I would certainly appreciate staff looking into this. I know that it was something that I certainly felt we should be doing some upgrades on, but I certainly agree with the fact that since the Parks and Recreation Master Plan has not been submitted or come to that discussion at the council table, along with the opportunity for a downtown plan, that I would agree with just the seasonal opening with the cleaning and the repainting and repairs as suggested by staff. This is we really realize that we need a very nice washroom for our tourism visitors. And whether that comes down to further discussion after we receive both the Parks Master Plan and the opportunity for the downtown plan, I think that seems sensible to me.
Councillor Barco?
Yeah, so could our Director of Recreation elaborate a little bit on what would be included in the full overhaul option?
That would include removing all the fixtures and replacing everything in the washroom. So it's a full gut and putting everything new in.
Like a new toilet, new washroom, new faucets, new stalls, whether they needed it or not, sort of thing.
Huh. Have you been in there?
No.
Okay.
That's not good, eh? Not good. Well, maybe council would like to.
Have a tour? I don't think so.
I think that, Councillor Barclay, I appreciate what you're saying, but I think what the rec manager or directors just put forward is probably reasonable for this point in time, because I'd like to wait for the rec master plan, because quite frankly, I favor number one. And I think a community of this size, given the amount of push we have for recreation and walking and cycling and so on, there should be decent all year round winterized washrooms both at Memorial Park and Peach Orchard. So that's what I would be pushing for down the road. But I don't believe that's something we can do right now until we get a good look at the master plan. CAO.
Yeah, and just to follow that and follow Recreation Manager's comments, we're really trying to say we're investing quite a bit of money in the plans that we're doing, whether or not it's a downtown plan and the Parks and Recreation plan. We're trying to get structure with our work plans and priorities. And unless you talk about all of these things holistically, there's so many important things, and you have to talk about them in total. So I think that both the downtown plan and the Parks and Recreation plan will inform you much better.
Councillor Holmes.
Yeah, I agree with the staff report and the recommendations. I do recognize there is a need for year-round washrooms downtown. I'm not convinced that Memorial Park is the place for those year-round washrooms. It's not exactly the greatest winter access and winter location. I think if you think of a community like Banff, where their public washrooms are, they're right smack in the middle of town, where their tourist information center is. And I think we need to, when we're looking at the downtown plan, that if they can address that, maybe the public washrooms need to be attached to City Hall or someplace like that, someplace that are really more accessible to people.
Good point.
I don't think we should be stuck in the idea that we need to turn Memorial Park washrooms into year-round washrooms. What we need are year-round washrooms downtown. It doesn't really matter if it's a Memorial Park or not.
Okay. Someone like to bring something forward, please? Resolution. Councillor Barkle?
I'll move that council go with option 1 as present, or 3, sorry, as presented in the report.
Seconder, please. Councillor Peak, thank you.
So you're, just for clarity, you're moving the staff recommendation, motions recommended by staff?
Yes.
Right.
Okay, we had seconder, right? Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Carried, thank you. Okay, 12.2, snowpack and dam management.
We'll have Mr. Johnson and
Johnson.
Mr. Vandermeerlen speak.
Okay.
Thanks, Mayor and Council. Purpose of this report has two parts. First, to provide an overview of the current status of the snowpack within the watershed. Second is to consider authorizing the installation of a bridge on the access road to the Garnet Valley Dam, which is associated with an existing culvert that has limited capacity. So first off, with the snow survey results, these are completed every month from January until the snow is gone within the watershed. Currently, we gather snow result data from two locations, one near the Headwaters Reservoir and one near the Eisentalk Reservoir. So far this year, we've seen significant snowpack levels. Shown on the table in the report were the March 1st results, which show the percent above the historical average for the Headwaters Dam at 148% and for Eisentalk at 159%. So each year in the fall, the reservoir levels are dropped following irrigation to provide storage for the upcoming freshet in the spring. From November to May, staff monitor a variety of factors in the watersheds that help assist them in managing these levels and making decisions as the season progresses. One major factor is the speed of the snow melt, which can be accelerated with significant rainfall, which is what we seen last April and May leading into the floods of last year. Unfortunately, this is difficult to predict, but it's managed with regular monitoring and discussions based on the data that's gathered to determine how quickly or what the adjustments on the flow levels of the water going out of the reservoir should be in anticipation of the expected volumes coming in that we expect to see during freshet. So looking at the Eneas watershed, during the past few months, inflow volumes into the Garnet Reservoir have been higher than we've seen since tracking those inflows in 2012. As a result, we've been releasing more water out of there than typical this year so far in January, February, and into March. This is to mitigate, as I said, the risk of the inflow exceeding what that outflow will be and then causing the dam to rise to a certain level where it will then spill over the spillway at an uncontrolled rate. So by preempting that and releasing more water now to provide that storage, it's looking to offset that spilling that could occur later in the year. So residents along Eneas Creek were notified in February of the change in flows, which is something that's typically done each year. For the Trout Creek watershed, it's somewhat less of a concern with the capacity that we have within the Thirsk Dam itself, plus I think there's 8 other reservoirs that we have in that watershed. And then the ability of Trout Creek to handle a higher fluctuation of flow versus Eneas Creek. So it's still monitored, but it's not as high of a risk as we see in the Eneas watershed. So that's a summary on the snow results. The next part was to look at the access road to Garnet Dam and the existing culvert near the dam, which crosses the spillway. In 2013, the consequence level of the dam was reassessed by dam safety from very high to extreme. What this affected was the volume that we were required to be able to handle within that dam during what's called a probable maximum flood. So by increasing the level of consequence of this dam, in essence, we're required to be able to handle more water in this probable flood scenario. So as part of that, the spillway was recommended to be widened about 5 meters. This is currently in the capital plan in 2021. In the fall, as per dam safety regulations, we completed a dam safety review of the Garnet and Thirsk dams. In this, they note recommendations for improvements of these structures and the spillways. And the highest priority coming from the Garnet review was to look at replacing the existing culvert that's there, which crosses the spillway with a clear span bridge to allow for higher flow capacity. And just to give you sort of a sense of scale, the existing culvert is about, the probable maximum flood spill volume is about 10 times higher than the current capacity of that culvert. So by widening the spillway in that area and installing this clear span bridge, we would alleviate that capacity concern for that in the future and in the event of this probable maximum flood. So based on that, staff's recommending the authorization to move forward with this work immediately so that it can be installed prior to freshet this year. The cost is $100,000 of the project, which would be funded through the Water Capital Reserve Fund. Any questions?
Council, questions? Councillor Peak.
Just a clarification, so in fact, the widened spillway comes forward from 2021 to this year, plus the construction of the bridge?
No, this is just to deal with the capacity concerns at the culvert where the road
Okay.
crosses. The actual spillway upgrades would still be targeted for 2021, which would upgrade the spillway from the bridge to the dam itself.
All right, on.
And
Thank
I
you very
guess
much.
As part of that, to mitigate those risks of not widening the spillway currently, we continue to hold the reservoir at lower levels. And
So-
will do until we have the funds to widen the spillway.
Okay, so there's consequence on that particular part of the decision.
Right.
Thank you very much, Doug.
Okay, I need a little clarification. When ultimately, I mean, I can see the bridge thing, I don't have a problem with that. I understand the flows and the potential problem with debris. But when it comes to widening the spillway, you're talking about the spillway on Thirsk Dam that was,
Garnet.
oh, Garnet, I'm sorry. I guess I was down a paragraph here, sorry, okay, carry on. Yeah, there's been questions about that spillway for quite some time, yeah. Okay, thanks. So you're keeping it, the water lower to avoid? Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah, okay, thanks. Councillor Holmes?
Sorry, I didn't catch the cost for the clear span bridge.
100,000.
Total project cost is $100,000.
So I was just wondering why then this wasn't part of our budget discussions? Why is it just coming up now because of assessing the snowpack or?
Well, no, it came through the dam safety review that was recently completed. So we've just seen draft results earlier this year. And so bringing in discussions with the consultant, it's been evaluated that this is the highest priority and should be done prior to freshet this year if possible.
We had no conversation, and I think it was working its way through the consultants when we were doing budget, and it only came up to the Director of Finance and myself early last week or the week before. And you have, I mean, I don't think you've spoke too much. You've looked at alternatives for the bridge. You've looked at, did you speak about that, or maybe you should speak about that a
Yeah, I
little
guess
bit?
we've had some discussion with the consultant about, about installing multiple culverts where there is now only one. Again, when you talk about 10 times the volume being required to pass through that area, then you're looking at 10 culverts being installed. There is simply not enough room to make that happen, and it doesn't generally make sense. You could do something that is not to the same degree and doesn't allow that volume from the probable maximum flood through. But if that were to occur, then you may have issues.
And you also looked at some sort of temporary situation or rentals or something like that?
Yeah, so we've spoken to a number of logging companies and mills that often use bridges on sort of a temporary basis in different areas. And there's potential to rent some of these structures, but chances are that they will need them again come summer when we'll need them as well. So that was the other item we looked at.
So in conclusion, after you looked at all of those, your recommendation came forward to purchase the span?
It did, and we've looked at other options in terms of other types of bridges as well. This was the strongest recommendation that came forward from the engineer. The numbers come from the engineer's cost estimates on construction of the bridge and installation of it, but we've yet to have those exact numbers from bridge suppliers and from contractors that would install it. So that would be our next step.
Okay, Councillor Peak and Councillor Holmes. Go ahead.
Yes, thank you. Could you tell me the lifespan of this type of construction for the bridge?
I guess the bridges, the structure, the girders are steel. The rest of the structure are timbers. They're treated timbers. The steel structure, I'm not sure of the exact timelines, but it would be extensive. The wood structure, both the bridge decking and the rails, et cetera, would have to be replaced on occasion, possibly every 15 to 20 years.
Thank you.
Councillor Holmes.
Yeah, just, I guess because the purpose of the bridge is really for flood mitigation, right? It's not, it's quite, it's something out of the ordinary that we would normally have. I was just wondering, is there funding from higher levels of government or grants or anything available for something like this?
It is something that we're going to look into. I don't know of one of them offhand, but there is some funding out there. I don't know if this fits, and we haven't had time, but we still, even if council approves moving forward with this in the next week, we will look into that to see if there's anything available.
So it wouldn't
We
be,
simply haven't had
so it
time.
wouldn't be too late, even if we've already made a decision to go ahead with.
No, it's generally, it's when a project has started with the grant funding. If you've just approved funding, it's fine. And our timelines, that's what's going to be the problem here, is whether or not if some of the disaster, I highly doubt there'll be anything for the infrastructure part of it. There's some mitigation funding available, but I don't know if it's for such infrastructure as this. But like I say, we just simply haven't had time to research it.
I guess that's kind of the problem with it being sprung on us like this, is that we don't, and spring is upon us as well, so it's you're kind of between the rock and a hard place in a way that it's but you would think that for something that is flood mitigation, that we should be able to find some money elsewhere to.
And it goes again to that point, is exactly what, just in the item before this, exactly what we said. We don't knee-jerk anything, have a plan it out. And then you get a professional report saying that you're at risk in the case of emergency, where signals are saying that we could be looking at a 100-year event. So that was certainly the debate we were having internally, is whether it's what happens if we don't do it. And there's a flood, and we had the opportunity together, so we felt that we were in a pretty bad spot.
Okay, so, Councillor Booth, you had a question?
Yeah, my question was the same that Doug asked, Councillor Holmes asked. But given the answer that we just got, I'm rather than going through the capital budget while I'm sitting here, the funding's coming from the Water Capital Reserve Fund, right? Is that what you said, Devin? Or Chris, someone?
Yeah. Correct.
Yeah. So that $100,000, or David, is coming out of there. I'm wondering if there is anything else that will be delayed or bumped because of the money that's coming out of that reserve, or if there was nothing else that was in there, or?
So after the three of us met, the CAO, Devin and myself, Devin and I went through the capital plan and looked at all of the 2018 capital projects that were slated to begin. And we did move one project that I believe had a cost of about $140,000. So it got delayed into 2019. So
okay.
We basically had to reprioritize to ensure that we could move this one forward to council and move the other one out.
Now, given the safety risk, I think that was a good decision. Thank you. Pardon me?
Which one was moved?
Which one was moved?
So it was the Crescent Dam outlet upgrade. So basically, we had some design and some permitting to look after prior to construction on that job. So the intent moving forward this year would be to get all of that permitting in place, the remainder of the design in place, so that we're ready to go in 2019 to leave the construction till then.
So just so council will be aware that the funding program that I was referring to through Emergency Management BC, they've got most of their program is on flood planning, but there is a structural component, and it is open at this point in time. So we would certainly follow up tomorrow to find out what their timelines are, and if it's one that, because it's very specifically for installation of structural flood protection works or upgrades to existing structural flood protection works, retrofitting and repairing existing dikes, except like all structural things. So we definitely will follow up, and that's 100% funding.
Okay. Councillor Trainer, then Councillor Barkle.
I was just wondering if the Finley Creek fire would have from last summer, had an impact on the Garnet Valley watershed, both in terms of increased runoff potential and water quality.
Definitely from the potential for increased runoff. When an area is burned, there was a small portion within the Garnet or the Eneas watershed that was burned. When all of that undergrowth is no longer there, the water is predicted to potentially run off in the order of 10 to 30% faster than it typically would without that, if that vegetation was in place. So it is an increased risk, but it wasn't deemed a significant one within the Eneas watershed, but definitely another factor that, you know, leans towards the potential for increased flows into the Garnet Reservoir this year.
Would that give us an opportunity to get any possible funding then as a result of the wildfire?
I think it probably all has
It all ties together?
some impact,
Okay.
I would think.
I have one more question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Have you talked with anybody else in the Okanagan about lake levels yet? The Okanagan lake level in terms of flooding?
We've had some conversations, and it certainly came up at our last CAO's meeting, and I don't have the details in front of me, but they are keeping the lake lower at this point in time and releasing a great deal of water. So we will bring another report as things start moving, but they are being proactive with the lake levels.
Just further to that, as far as I know, they're releasing it max right now, so they can't let out any more water any faster than they are right now. So, Councillor Barkle.
And to that point you just made, I seem to remember the mayor of Vesuvius saying that they didn't maximize the lake, the drawdown or the flows in their community until about May last year. So we certainly are ahead of last year as far as water flows.
Yeah, could be.
Anyhow, my question was, we only fill Garnet Valley Dam to about 85% of capacity now. The report speaks to about $500,000 worth of additional work to expand the outlet and some surfacing in the future. Is 85% capacity? Can we stay there for a long time? Is that water needed now that we have the system separation and less demand on the Garnet Valley system?
Yeah, so we have had some general discussions about exactly that, whether there's potential to keep it at a lower level. The issue becomes that you end up with a shallower reservoir, which heats up quicker and potentially has more issues with flumes or with algae blooms and such, and that is what we've had issues with in the past. It's perhaps not as big an issue now because we're not dealing with domestic water, but that is something that we'll have some further discussion on for sure. The difficulty is, of course, once you get to freshet, and you simply can't hold it to that level, but you try to hold it to that level prior to and afterwards, and only for a short time during freshet.
Does the outlet at Garnet Valley ever get open to like as wide as it could possibly go? Obviously you don't want to flood the people down below if you can avoid it, but
right.
What is the capacity?
Yeah, the outlet pipe does get open to capacity during those heavy times, usually June and July. And again, we try to release as much water as we can to get to sort of a winter level so that we're prepared to freshet in the spring. But there are occasions like this year where when monitoring snowpack et cetera, and understanding that there's potential for increased levels of freshet, then we do try to let out a bit more. So perhaps in the future, if we consider keeping it at a lower level, we'll be less likely to require more release in the winter.
And do you still do aeration in recent years?
There's
Yeah.
still aeration.
Yeah.
I have further information.
Yeah, go ahead.
So with the program, with the structural flood mitigation program from the Community Emergency Preparedness Fund, as soon as you put an application in, your
Project.
costs are eligible at that date, so that would work well. So if council approved the project to go forward, but also directed staff to make an application, if we were successful, even if we had started the project prior to hearing back, it would be reimbursed. So, and if council decides to go with that, then we would need to pass a resolution tonight directing us, and I would read that proposed one out so that to give us, because that would need to be submitted with the application.
Okay.
Let's do
I
that.
think we're ready to
yes.
move along. I think with that suggestion, would someone like to bring the motion and the additional information forward? Councillor Holmes?
Yep.
So,
Okay, in the interest of speed, go ahead.
So,
With the addition,
so I can read what the proposed resolution would be by their guidelines. It would be that staff be directed to prepare an application to the Community Emergency Preparedness Fund Structural Flood Mitigation Program for the purchase and installation of a bridge along the Garnet Dam, and further that council will provide overall grant management.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Yeah, yep doesn't quite cover it, does it?
Second it.
Okay, Councillor Barkle, second? Second?
Yes.
Okay, any further discussion? I think we've pretty
So
well
have you
covered it.
passed, are you considering all three
Yes.
motions
Yes.
then? Okay.
Yeah. So we'll consider all three, and they're all out there? Yeah, okay. Got a mover and seconder, all in favor? Opposed? Carried, thank you. GIS, who's covering that? 12.2.
That'd be Mr. Deniger.
Mr. Deniger.
All right. So following on some very brief discussion from workshops on budget, bringing back a little bit more in-depth information on staff's recommendation to upgrade from our computer-aided design system to an actual GIS. And this is for council to consider having staff included in our 2018 budget and 5-year financial plan. So the current system, as I mentioned, is a computer-aided design or CAD-based system. It looks like a GIS if you only use it on the website, because it is a map with some information, but it is based entirely upon drawings. They're very fancy computer drawings done by engineers, but they are just drawings, layers of information, but they're not in a database. Our so-called GIS right now doesn't actually contain any data. It simply ties together these drawings for consumption by users, whether it be the public or staff. It is a 20-year-old system technologically. It has its limitations. It can be used for some basic analysis with enough brain power looking at the maps, but it doesn't allow computer analysis of that data. It doesn't allow us to actually run scenarios or model things, do algorithms against it, because like I said, it is just a drawing, and computers need that data in a different format, in a more modern format called spatial data. It's a database-based system. So 80 to 90% of municipalities, local governments, regional districts in BC use a product called Esri. It is the leader of GIS technology worldwide and in BC. We did a deep dive into who's using what, and it was confirmed 100% of regional districts use it. The province uses it. The province actually has a mandate to try to integrate all these Esri GIS systems together across the province amongst all governments of all levels. Municipalities are highly invested in that as well. At this point, Summerland can't participate because we're not using a GIS. We are using drawings. There are a couple of options for software. There's open source from our research, we couldn't find a single municipality or regional district in BC using an open source system other than ourselves, which is the public-facing side, which has limitations and is tied to the software we're currently using, which has reached end of life. We did talk to the regional district as well, the RDOS, to find out if we could either collaborate or look at a shared service model. We interviewed various levels of staff and users, both financial and technical, in the RDOS, the RDCO, and Kootenays. And what we found is that the services that they're providing for GIS at this point are very limited. They're very web-based. They don't allow the deep integration into the financial systems or the asset management systems. So they have that opportunity with the advancement of technology over time to offer those services, but right now they don't. So what they would have to do is a very manual process of outputting data, transporting it to the member municipalities, and then having them work on it very independently. It's not actually directly tied to the GIS. There are various levels of heading towards that, but no one's there yet. So in talking with the RDOS, and the RDOS did review the proposal put together by Harterra Spatial Systems for Summerland. They thought it was a good plan. The RDOS staff thought it was a good plan, but did confirm that beyond the services they're already providing to Summerland, such as receiving our 911 data, uploading it to the province and other partners, that they just don't have the capacity right now or in the immediate future to take on this project any more efficiently than the District of Summerland could. Once Summerland's up on the same playing field as everyone else in the region and the regional district itself, then more opportunities become available to leverage their expertise. They do have a number of GIS staff. They do develop in-house tools. We will, of course, constantly work with them, looking at where we can leverage their expertise. And these tools that they develop, whether it be in Penticton, Kelowna, RDOS, or even Victoria, they're computer programs. They can be transmitted between us for free as long as the licensing allows it. And we've already had some offers from Penticton to hand us these tools for, savings of $5,000 to $10,000 each, because it's already been developed. We wouldn't have to. Right now, we don't have that opportunity because, again, we're using a different system that no one else is. Point of all this is to try to support community planning and asset management. Right now, because of the datedness of the software and the limitations of the software, we can't do modern planning. We can't do proper management where the assets that are installed by the Works Department are managed through finance as well as a single unified system. Right now they're very independent. There's a spreadsheet here and a spreadsheet there, and then off to the side an engineer creates a drawing to represent that data. But it's not the same data. It's duplicated data which becomes out of sync. So the proposal at this point is to fund a portion of the total project specifically for contractors to try to expedite it. As noted in Schedule A, it is a rather hefty total sum, over $740,000 estimated cost to implement this system. This has been verified with other local governments and regional districts. It is not a cheap thing to do, but most of it is staff time. So rather than giving the consultants $740,000, we thought we'd let the district staff do the work. That's why we're here. There is as well an opportunity, maybe others, that has been identified to get some funding from some grant funding, up to $50,000 at this point is what we've found. There may be other opportunities that support the asset management side of this system, and that would cover both labor and software. And staff will continue looking for opportunities for that. I think that's a summary of it.
That funding that Jeremy's talking about is through FCM. We've been successful in the other components getting funding through FCM, and it would be a very good opportunity. Again, this one just kind of came to our attention on what that possibilities are. It's just as we're finishing with collective bargaining, we can refocus on these things. So, but it's
Okay.
up to $50,000.
Questions? Councillor Trainer, Councillor Burke.
When we had initially talked about this, I think you had given one example of when, if staff are out in the field and they have an iPad and there's this new data, that they would be able to get more information that way and then plug new information in real time. Can you just explain that once more?
Yeah, the idea with a modern GIS system, if we get into phase 7 and 8 of Schedule B, which is actually empowering the district to use the system to its fullest, staff out in the field should be able to use a smartphone or tablet to immediately identify assets under their feet or above their head, and to make corrections to it as well if they discover an error, rather than going through a process of using 2 or 3 staff people to get this data in through very technical means. The tools exist right now to just input the data on your tablet or phone and have staff simply verify that it's correct. And this can be done
So
by
that's
very
ultimately one of the tools that we'll get out of this.
one of many tools
Yeah.
Right.
for
And-
distributing responsibility.
Okay.
And just further on that, council recognizes how much time and expense we're committing to the development of asset management. One of the biggest risks in development of asset management is that it sits on the shelf and becomes outdated very, very quickly. And unless you incorporate it into a GIS system and it becomes part of everything you do, it will be lost.
Councillor Barkle.
Sounds like an awful lot of money, but it also sounds like we don't really have much choice here, and hopefully the benefits are worth it. When the current system's not going to be supported January 2019, will we sort of like struggle along with that, or will this be up and running in a basic sort of a format to be used along with that, or how's that going to work?
Typically, the new system is built in parallel to the old system, so that they can check that the migrations are occurring correctly and that the data is being presented correctly, and as well as making any modifications that staff may need to it. It may be buggy during development in certain parts, and the data can only be moved so quickly. So the old system will have to continue running until this one's at least close to the same level of apparent.
Yeah, so that was sort of my question. When would we, like, say, Joe Public be accessing this system instead of the old system?
The public-facing side will actually probably be up much sooner than the internal system, because it only has to show some very basic information: zoning, OCP, property lines. All the extra data about all of our assets isn't typically made available to the public because of no real use.
So you can compartmentalize or segment things.
Exactly. In Schedule B, we did break down into very discrete steps so that we could actually make sure that we're meeting milestones and that we're recognizing that we're achieving these things. This is a very broad, high-level 8-phase approach. It would be broken down even further than that, and there is some room for wiggling those things around based upon priorities.
So further to Schedule B there, I don't see any dates. What's an implementation schedule if we follow that?
Yeah, that will really depend upon the staff time available to devote to this and the expertise of the GIS person who's hired by the district, what their level of comfort is and so forth. So yeah, it's going to be an iterative process of defining those timelines. The first one, of course, being phase 1, detailed planning. From that should come some more accurate dates as well.
Okay, I just have a quick question relative to Councillor Barkle's. You indicated, that there'd be considerable staff time, and that's the major investment in doing this. And it's pretty heavy on the front end, I would imagine, or through the period of accumulating. But I would assume that either, it's going to make for considerable efficiencies once things are done, to the point of the interactions between departments, projects, the ability to do things in the field and so on. So the input's heavy now, but even if the load still stays heavy, which lots of times I'm suspicious about, we were often told in the past that, well, as soon as we get computers, we'll be down to a 3-day work week. Didn't happen. So, I'm sort of thinking that even if it doesn't reduce the load, what it does is make everything work more concurrently and make things more expedited in terms of what we can actually do. Is that correct?
Yeah, if I could clarify, the staff time will mostly be of the GIS technician. There will definitely be a fair amount of time up front from all the other staff who are the users to confirm that they're building the system that we want. But the GIS in-house technician who will be working on this, they're going to be focused on asset management and GIS development for the foreseeable future, and that's their job to do.
Gotcha.
And that's to support other staff. So yes. And it will ultimately provide both process improvements and just better data and better decision-making from staff, much the same as being able to use office software or financial software. Yes, we use a lot of our time on that software because it provides better decision-making.
Councillor Peak.
I appreciate the discussion and certainly understand it. I know that planning will be able to use this as well. My question is around how the funding. So the using an outside contractor is $741,000, but the recommendation is for $150,000 for contracted services in 2018 to get this started and work it through, and then $100,000 in 2019. If I might ask David, how are we doing this? What funds are we using, or how are we using it?
Based on the proposed financial plan that council looked at during the budget workshops, the funding allocation is to come from unallocated surplus.
Thank you.
Do you have any CO? No? Okay.
Of course, if they did put that application into FCM, then that would reduce that.
I understand that.
Councillor Boot and Councillor Barkle.
My question, I think, has been answered by Councillor Peak's question, so thank you for that. Just one thing, though, I think you said it was $50,000 that's potentially grant funding from FCM, that would be put against the $100,000 for 2018? Is that how it would work?
It'd probably straddle between the two, 20.
Oh, between the 2 years, so say 75 each? Okay. Okay, thanks.
Councillor Barkle.
Is the 100,000, 150,000 this year, was it, and 100,000 next year? Is that the total for contractor fees for the project?
That's the recommendation at this time based on what we know.
And the balance from staff time? Okay.
Yes.
Councillor Peak.
I'll bring the resolution forward.
Yes, please.
I have a question.
Question, go ahead, Councillor Holmes.
Would the whole project go to tender? How would that?
The contracted portion of it would go through the proper process, yes.
We're really hoping, and I'm hoping I'm not speaking out of line, that the GIS technician that we're currently hiring can spearhead this project and take a lot of it on themselves. There'll be specialty pieces of it that need expertise in the actual development of to tailor it to us. So it'll be small portions, and it's very difficult. It's frustrating because it's very difficult to pinpoint the actual amount down and to see whether or not we can, until we start actually working on it, to see if we can reduce that number. But it won't be one big contract.
Right, okay, thanks.
Councillor Barkle.
Considering the specialty nature of the contract work you want, is the RFP process the way we really want to go? Or is it maybe should we look at a way of avoiding that process for some of this contract work?
Sorry, I missed what you said at the beginning.
Considering the specialty nature of the contracting, the computer modeling and processing, is the RFP process an efficient way, or should we look at a way of avoiding that process for certain components of this project?
We will always follow process, depending on the size of the particular contract. If we start working with one particular specialist that is doing very well, and we can just extend their contracts or add pieces on. We have some identified contractors that we know they have sort of standing agreements with us. But anything that was substantial, you would just tailor. You would just make a real specific RFP or an expression of interest, but you would still go through through a process.
Okay. You're going to go ahead with the motion?
That the staff be directed to include the purchase and implementation of Esri ArcGIS software as a new geographic information system, a GIS, in the proposed 2018 budget and 5-year financial plan.
Seconder, please. Councillor Holmes, thank you. Any further discussion? Councillor Holmes.
Yeah, I'd just like to say I don't think we necessarily should look at it as a specialty software any more than, say, financial software is. The geographic information is really our core business when you think about it. That's local government. So that's, so much of what we do is geographic based. And when you look at all the best practices for GIS around the world, they'll come from local government or military, which they also use a lot of geographic information. The majority of those are I'd have to say are Esri based, and so I'm really I'm pleased with, not that I have shares in Esri or anything, but I'm pleased that it is Esri that we're buying.
Wish we did.
So. So especially as we embark on asset management, I think it's essential that we have a proper GIS system.
Somebody to add, Councillor Peak?
Yes, I think that we have a definite opportunity plus in replacing our system, but also the fact that we had a retirement and we will be hiring someone that will have the kind of skills that we need to forward this project as well.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Carried, thank you. Okay. CFO, 12.4.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So the purpose of this presentation is to provide a high-level overview of the proposed 2018 General Fund Financial Plan. A more in-depth review will be presented at the Public Financial Plan Open House that is scheduled for March 22nd, 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. With a formal presentation at 6. Oh, it's not clicking.
While you're doing that, I think the CAO wanted to.
No, that's right. I was just
Go
going to
ahead.
introduce it. It's fine.
Okay.
David did it just fine.
Okay.
So the financial planning process prompted numerous questions that needed to be addressed during the compilation of this proposed financial plan. One of the first ones, I need someone to click. How will contractual increases affect the overall budgeted costs? How will the strategic plan guide the financial plan? Will projects not started in the previous year be brought forward into 2018? And if so, how will they be funded? What effects will the non-market change have on budgeted property tax revenues? What, if any, service levels need to be increased to provide better services for residents? And finally, will council continue to address the infrastructure deficit? All these questions played a role in how the proposed financial plan was formed. So the proposed financial operating plan in the general fund plans on the District of Summerland expending $13.8 million in fiscal 2018. The three largest functional areas are protective services, which encompass fire, policing, bylaw enforcement, building inspection, emergency measures, and animal control works, as well as recreation and culture. The proposed preliminary 2018 financial plan reflects all contractual and legislative obligations, such as negotiated contract increases. The most significant ones are noted on the screen here. I'll speak to a few of them. The district's current garbage and recycling collection contract expires on June 30th and was renegotiated to come into effect on July 1st. Adjustments were made to the contract to incorporate new collection technologies. However, there will be no taxation impact as user fees will be adjusted to absorb these additional costs. The solid waste manager there, with regulatory requirements being more stringent, a solid waste manager one-year contract position has been proposed to ensure all compliance for the landfill, compost, and recycling facilities are being met. And another key task for this individual will be to review the current solid waste bylaw and associated fees and charges that go along with it to ensure that the fees that the district is collecting and charging are appropriate. Of course, the middle one there's a municipal election in 2018, which needed to be budgeted for as well. Okay. So one question that was considered while compiling this financial plan was how to address projects that had not been started but budgeted for back in the 2017 plan. Council has proposed to carry over projects totaling just under $615,000 from 2017 into 2018. A common financial practice which is proposed throughout this budget is that all carry forward projects be funded through a combination of accumulated surplus as well as reserves. Some of the identified projects that fit within Council's strategic plan are noted: the subdivision and servicing bylaw update, heritage and downtown plans, as well as perpetual slide monitoring. Staying with Council's strategic plan and the question on how that plan will guide the proposed financial plan, we've identified the projects listed there. Looking forward, one of Council's core objectives in their strategic plan is good governance. Two key indicators within this objective are to ensure the district has the financial systems and supports in place to minimize financial risk, as well as having appropriate bylaws in place that will allow Council to make consistent business decisions. Currently, the district does not have the capacity for a dedicated individual to perform monthly, detailed analytical reviews. These reviews are vital in order to ensure errors and inconsistencies do not occur throughout not only the billing process, but through all financial processes. The proposed financial plan includes funding for the hiring of a procurement and contract manager. This position will be phased in over a 2-year period and will also centralize the purchasing function within the district. In terms of levels of service, throughout the financial planning process, Council has discussed overall service levels that are currently being provided to the community, and Council has not reduced any of the current service levels from 2017 levels. Decisions were made to actually increase levels of service in relation to street sweeping, minor street repairs, snow removal, as well as internal records management. The proposed costs for these service level increases is $109,000. The Development Services Department has seen significant growth in the amount of applications and inquiries over the past 3 years, and the expectation for 2018 is that this increased trend will continue. The proposed financial plan reflects this expectation with an increased development services revenue of approximately $73,000. Now, with this increased demand on the department, there are significant concerns that the level of service, such as the turnaround time on applications and those types of processes, may decrease. So to ensure this does not occur, the proposed plan includes funds for the hiring of a planning manager. This position is proposed to be a 2-year period, or to be phased in over a 2-year period. And centralizing the HR function has been identified and provided for in the proposed financial plan. There's a need for more oversight in this area to ensure payroll and benefits are being effectively managed. Legislation is being complied with, such as the WorkSafe BC, and training programs are initiated and monitored. This position has been supported by Council and will be integrated over a 2-year period.
And just before you move to revenues, just what we're providing council today is a really high-level summary of the directions that council has presented. We will, in the material we put together for the open house and for the public, we will be putting a comprehensive package together so that, and then when David and I do the presentation, we will be speaking about the pieces in depth, much more detail than this.
Absolutely. So on the revenue side, non-market change, it's often viewed upon as a new tax revenue from prior year and primarily attributed to development growth. The district's 2018 non-market change is approximately $115,650, and this, of course, has been included in the proposed financial plan. As well as as we just discussed, development services, we're anticipating revenues to increase by the $73,000. When we look at the capital side of the general fund, for the first 2 years, 2018 and 2019, proposed capital spending is at $15.8 million. Now, $6 million of that was the Garnet Valley Giants Head Road, project, which was to be funded through grant funding. So that would decrease that 15.8 million by that 6. The major projects that we're looking at within the mobile fleet replacement, we're looking at replacing 23 pieces of equipment through the first 2 years. Those replacements vary from work trucks to specialized vacuum sweeper. And the funding for these replacements will come from the equipment replacement reserve, which is fully funded. So there are no tax consequences.
So I just because that looks fairly 2.255 is a pretty big number to have in vehicle replacements. And just a reminder that that's basically 3 years. Well, our vehicles are in a revolving plan, and as they reach their depreciated values, they get replaced in that year. However, because of unforeseen things such as the flooding last year and not having a purchaser, that we're behind in ordering the equipment to the point that some of the equipment isn't functioning anymore. And so that's equivalent to 3 years. But as David said, it's important to remember, I mean, there's no tax implications of that particular 2.255. The mobile fleet, we capture the depreciation costs on an ongoing basis so that it's a fully funded fund.
Correct.
So just further to that, in other words, by capturing that, it's through charge outs on the equipment as it's used for whatever uses?
Correct, yes.
So that's how that money gets assembled?
That's
Yeah.
right, and
Yeah.
so it's in a revolving fund, so it's
Yeah.
one of our few fully funded capital reserve funds.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
The Giants Head Trail upgrade, in 2017, the district commissioned the Giants Head Trail Master Plan, which was to help determine future upgrades to the trail. We also applied and were successful in obtaining $435,000 of rural dividend grant funding to help finance the first phase of these enhancements. The district has committed $190,000 of gas tax funding, and the Rotary has also committed $100,000 to complete this project. So in total, a $725,000 project with 3 funding partners, which is great.
So although we have $725,000, the cost of the district is only the $130,000.
190.
190, sorry.
Yeah. On the skate park, so construction of a new skate park has been a priority of council through this term. The school board is providing the site. $137,000 of funds have been committed through the community, and council has recognized the value of this project to the community, and as such is proposing in this draft budget or financial plan to fund the remaining $458,000 of this project from Summerland's gas tax fund.
Which is also, the gas tax fund is also a grant funding program. It's just a grant funding program that we get the funds in advance, and we can determine if a project fits the criteria on what we want to use it for, instead of the traditional model of a grant where you apply in advance.
The LED streetlight retrofit, currently the district's inventory, we have a lot of non-energy efficient lights that use approximately 10% of the annual kilowatt hours that we purchase. So by retrofitting our inventory, we're anticipating cost savings of approximately $80,000 annually on electrical costs. Now the proposed funding for this project we've identified to come from the gas tax funding, as well as Fortis has noted there is an $85,000 rebate that we can get through them. Now, the overall payback on this project is 5 to 6 years for full payback, so it's quite a good project. And the final one there, the Arts and Cultural Center project, Council had designated last year $250,000 in the financial plan to help rehabilitate the center. The Arts Council was successful in just near the end of 2017, I believe, in obtaining an additional $250,000 of grant funding. So therefore, the overall project scope now on this is $500,000, and again, it's $250,000 from the Arts Council grant, $250,000 from the gas tax funds.
So it's
the
again a
district
little
has.
bit misleading because it's up there because the project's going to happen 2018, but the 250 was funded in 2017. It's just being brought forward, and another 250 from the Arts Council. And that grant, just a reminder, was a really good. But both that one and the Giant's Head Trail one was a really good reminder how well we do with grants if we partner with community organizations. So the Rotary, we would not have got the big rural dividend grant had we not partnered with the Rotary, and the Arts Council would not have got the $250,000 if they weren't partnered with the local government. So they're both really good examples.
So, to summarize, to complete everything identified in this proposed 2018 general financial plan, there is a funding shortfall of approximately $136,800. Furthermore, as part of the budget workshops, there were questions on how the district's asset management plan was coming along and what the infrastructure deficit will actually be. Again, speculating what this amount will be is quite difficult. However, there was consensus that current reserve levels will not be sufficient to address this need. So Council has continued to be proactive in ensuring the financial viability of future capital projects by proposing an increase in the amount that's transferred into the district's general capital reserve fund in the amount of $82,100. So to fund the above, a tax rate increase of 2.75% is being proposed. 1.03% is directly attributed to increasing reserve contributions, and 1.72% is attributed to the operational funding shortfall. So what this means to the average Summerland home that's assessed at just under $536,000 will see their property taxes increased by approximately $55.40, and that's annually. Now, if directed by Council, this preliminary financial plan will be presented at the Public Financial Plan Open House on March 22nd, as we discussed at the beginning. Council will take into consideration input that's received at this open house at a meeting to follow the open house prior to finalizing the financial plan. And that's my report.
Thank you. Okay, Council, questions of the CFO?
Yeah, it's probably, I mean, this is your plan, and
put it
you
together.
put it together, so I think you may have some questions, but the main thing would be to gather the public input on it, and then we will debrief and see if you want to make changes once, because that was typically what would happen is you will gather the public input at the open house or when people come in to see myself or David over the next couple of weeks. And then you'll have another meeting to determine if you want to make some changes or if we have any sort of updated information.
I think, just before you make a comment, I think that public open house the last 2 years has been, the staff has done an excellent job. No pressure, CFO. They've done a tremendous job of presenting, could be regarded as a fairly dry topic, but it's been very well done, and the last 2 instances have been great for full explanation, and I've given my history with councils, I was fully appreciative of the way things were presented and in terms, and the information itself. So I think even from what we saw tonight, what we're seeing is a a much more understandable way of seeing the information, seeing where it comes from, what reserves are in play, and so on. I really appreciate the work that has been done. Councillor Barkwell.
Yes, thank you. What we saw tonight was kind of a consensus of council discussions. I think maybe some other councillors feel like me that some items were, well, I'm not really sure they should be there, and other items maybe they should be there. I think what comes to mind was maybe a speaker earlier about roads and what we spend on roads. And one item that I'm interested in hearing feedback on is the skateboard park, because that's a lot of money, and I've been involved in the thing. I've personally donated money, but that's a lot of tax money, and I would like to see that the community really wants it before committing that much money.
I think probably the question there is that, you know, as you pointed out, I think it was 137,000 has come from community.
Correct.
And, you know, the balance is going to largely be gas tax money, correct?
That's how it's proposed
Yes.
in this
So the
draft.
tax hit from that particular project is low, is,
Well, it's a question of how the money's used. Could
Yeah, of
tax
course.
fund
The
gas
gas
money
tax
be
money
used for
might-
roads? And
well,
I don't know what the categories are that are eligible for.
Yeah, I mean, we have funding for roads. We have for some roads, we have DCCs. We have opportunities. The argument to date, I understand, has been that there's no, that they're working on the plans prioritizing the road repairs. We've had some conversations with staff ongoing if there should have been some brought forward in the meantime, and that's why they started to work with Giant's Head Road. And so there are opportunities for council to still look at other funds and whether or not they want to get, I mean, capacity is always a big one, but if council prioritized, I mean, right now you have a resolution saying that this is the plan to move forward. Council would have to get the feedback and then determine if you wanted to amend that resolution. And certainly, I would suggest that you keep that open mind and look at other funding opportunities if you get significant impact information.
yeah, further to that though, in terms of, say, Giant's Head Road, we made the application, the engineering is, I believe, Mr. Johnson, 95% complete. So, you know, the capacity issue around prep work to move ahead with the project is done. And if we were able to either get more funding or decide, make another decision somewhere, you know, we've done a lot of the, quote, pardon the expression, spade work to be ready for that. So, Councillor Holmes.
Yeah, just a couple things. One in response to Councillor Barkwell. One is, I think when the community comes forward with funding, with quite a large amounts of funding, such as the case with the skate park, such as the case with the Giant's Head Trail, such as the case with even in the Arts Centre with the Arts Council grant, then that's a pretty powerful expression from the community that it's wanted, that it's needed. You know, money talks, and so I think, you know, we've already heard this desire from the community because they've put their money where their mouth is, so to speak. And Sadie or Penny Lane is part of the community, right? And then second, with roads, I when there is funding opportunities there to get funding from government, then I think we pursue it, and we might not always get it on the first try. I mean, just look at Garnet Valley. That's a pretty nice road that we've got out there now, but we didn't get it we didn't get the funding for that the first attempt. It took a second attempt to get it, right? And so I think sometimes you have to be a little bit patient. And it's a bit more, I would say it's more prudent of us to wait for those opportunities, and we have lots of priorities, and sometimes the priorities that rise to the top are the ones that we get government funding for, you know, and which doesn't mean that the other things that we'd like to see done aren't priorities, but we just have to be patient until we get funding for those as well. So.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, what Councillor Holmes says is true. I wasn't suggesting that we, go ahead without senior level financing for any large project. I mean, that just wouldn't make sense. I'm just saying that there are alternative uses for, say, the gas tax funding, and I'm not convinced, although I'm open to persuasion, about the skate park in itself, because one particular group thought that it was a good idea and made a donation for that project, for a portion of it, maybe 20% of it, doesn't necessarily mean that the whole community is behind that and wants to see their tax dollars used that way. I've attended fundraising events, and there just hasn't been, real participation. I'm on the fence on that one.
Okay, well, I'll throw my 2 bits in there because I was around here when Penny Lane made the money available, and it was council's decision at that time to suggest that it be moved towards the skate park. It wasn't Penny Lane that said we want a skate park. It was the elected representatives that said that the youth in the community would be looking forward to that kind of addition for their activities. So I think you're slightly off base there, because previous councils, elected body, did suggest from their point of view that it was a community project worth doing. And I think I take Councillor Holmes' comments there about public input, and if you'd been here last Thursday, Friday, and I guess I did let it slip that we were considering looking at the skate park, and believe me, the level of excitement was there. So we've got a whole crop of kids now that are coming on. The crop that initiated the thoughts around that are now in university, because they've had to wait. Their time has gone by, and I really am not interested in watching another set of students go by and pass through the system without having maybe addressed something that the previous council actually thought was a good idea. Councillor Peak.
I'd like to make a comment, and then I'll bring the
Good, please do. Yep.
the resolutions forward. I think that road work is something that you plan for, and I think that that's what we need to do, and that's what we're working towards. The asset management plan will feed into that. I know that when I first came on council, I talked about having a roads needs study, and then we looked for funding for the asset management. I think those things that bring on where you need to do the work, and that council's efforts to make a design come forward, and to look for the funding for Giants Head Road in proportion of $6 million is an excellent example of the kind of work that the council needs to do. So I agree that road work is something that's very important for our community. It's one of our foundations, that and water and sewer. So that I'm interested in the discussion as we move forward with our financial plan, and to that end, and I will bring the resolution forward as stated in the agenda.
Okay, thank you. Seconder, please. Councillor Boot, thank you. Any further discussion?
Quick question.
Yes, Councillor.
We will be advertising for the public meeting as we have done in the past, so people are well aware of it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's in now. It's just, yeah, it's been submitted.
Excellent. Thank you.
Okay. All in favor? Opposed? Carried, thank you. Okay. Moving ahead to new business. Silga. Recommendation. Who's going to carry that?
Councillor Boot.
Do I push the green button? Does that turn it on? Great. Thank you. I'm just going to make a brief presentation on the role of the Southern Ontario Local Government Association in our area. We commonly call it SILGA, and I'm making this presentation as an executive member of the SILGA board. I'm a director at large. So our mission statement is that we work to represent all communities in the BC Southern Interior. We have 37 members, and SILGA tries to get to each community every 6 years. So we have about 6 meetings a year, 6 over 6 years. That's how long it will take us to get to all the communities. This year, our first meeting after the election at Silga Convention in April of last year, was held in Summerland. So it's the first time it's been in Summerland for a while. Now it doesn't really apply to Summerland because we just had one, but we do have the opportunity to apply to have another Silga meeting in our community. Here is a list of the executive. 7 directors at large is the way we're moving forward. This year there are 6, and then the electoral area, Karla Kozakovich, who is the chair of the regional district, Okanagan-Similkameen. That is being changed up a little bit. Starting this year, there will be 7 directors at large, but there still needs to be representation from an electoral area. So the top 7 directors that are, by the vote count, will be the new directors at large. If there is an electoral director in there, electoral area director in there, then that's fine. If there isn't, then the bottom director at large by the vote count will be dropped, and the highest electoral area director will be moved into that position. There are elections at the next Silga Convention, which is at the end of April, and it's being held in Revelstoke. So if you are interested in running, the booklet has already been printed, but there are nominations from the floor, so that goes for anyone that wishes to put their name forward for the executive. It's been a great year of learning for me, and being at the other communities has been really great. And yes, Dean, we are in Revelstoke, so we'll be able to be in your stomping grounds. This is the geographical area of Silga, and it represents about 510,000, I think, in population. There are 6 regional districts, and of course we're in the green one at the south end, RDOS. This is the list of the Silga members, including the 6 regional districts, and then all of the municipalities that are incorporated. So what is our purpose? Our purpose is to speak as one voice for both regional and local governments, and to speak strongly about the issues of our members, and to promote what we would like to see in our Silga organization from Silga to UBCM, which is in the fall of every year. And there are 6 different local government associations throughout BC, and they all do the same work for their area. Our goals are to identify common issues and to make sure that there is a professional and well-educated group of elected officials in BC. We have fall educational sessions, and often have them in the spring as well. And we encourage communication and the sharing of best practices throughout the communities. Some of the things that Silga has done in the past is provided information on the firefighters playbook, as we know that's a big deal, especially with the wildfires of last year. And that impact on local governments, and we've also worked on doctor recruitment strategies, which is another concern of Summerland and a number of municipalities throughout the Silga region. We achieve our goals by meeting with all of the Silga membership prior to the annual convention. We engage our membership on issues that affect them. We encourage all members to submit resolutions for Silga Convention this year. I'm not sure that Summerland has put anything forward this year, but certainly the RDOS has. We continue to communicate with senior levels of government, both the province and the federal government. Last year, we maintained pressure with the provincial government on the quagga and zebra mussel threat, and that was also taken to the Federation of Canadian Municipalities to put pressure on the most senior level of government in our country. We continue to work with Interior Health and the province of BC for the recruitment of doctors and nurse practitioners and other medical professionals in our area. And we lobbied for the review of education funding, especially funding that relates to retaining schools in smaller communities, such as what we went through last year, or 2 years ago again now. Our strategic plans for this year include addressing housing challenges, infrastructure, both natural waterways and services, sewers. And as Councillor Peak was mentioning a minute ago, our municipality, our regional district, and all the municipalities and regional districts in the Silga area are all working on asset management plans in one way or another. And another big thing that's coming forward, although I understand it may be delayed a bit, is the cannabis legalization. One of the things that we're going to be talking about at this next Silga convention, of course, is the cannabis legalization that is upcoming. And Emergency Management BC is going to be attending to talk to us about the 2017 flood and fire season that we all experienced. And we're also going to have a session on affordable and accessible housing, including short-term housing. There will be a representative from Airbnb there, which is another concern for a number of municipalities and areas within the Silga area. So these are the tours that we have planned for the convention this year, and I'm on the convention planning committee. So if you don't like these things, just let me know. It's too late, but there we go. A tour of the BC Hydro Dam, the Railway Museum, a walking tour of Revelstoke, and some of the breakout sessions, CAO performance review that we did not get to last year, speech writing and campaigning in order to bring us up to date on the upcoming election and the changes around the election process this year. Invigorating our communities with art and lighting, business licensing for electoral areas. Currently, regional district electoral areas do not have the jurisdiction to do business licensing. The possibilities of tech and innovation, and we're also going to be listening to Dr. Mullinex about the Bioregion Food System Project. Our convention keynote speakers this year are David Allison out of Vancouver. He is a motivational speaker, and I have a bit of a write-up on him, but you can go online, silga.ca. And Ivan Coyote, who was here just last week with the School District 67. He spoke at the Okanagan-Smilkameen Healthy Living Fair. He is coming back this Thursday at the Chatford Centre. So he is a very interesting speaker. And for those of you, I'm sure everybody knows what the benefits are of attending the convention. The number one thing probably is resolution debate, so the resolutions that are brought forward by various members of SILGA. We always have thought-provoking and educational speakers. There is a great opportunity to network with other people that are elected officials in other areas. And of course, there is the election for the executive 2018 to 2019. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Councillor Peak.
Tony, I'd like to thank you for that presentation. I think that was, it's good information, and I found in my time here that working with SILGA has been very productive, that the forums they put on are well thought out, and the people that come to do them are excellent.
Thank you. I'll pass that along. Thanks.
Okay, could we have a motion to receive Tony's report? Councillor Peak, Councillor Holmes, all in favor? Carried, thank you. Okay, moving up to bylaws. I think we got Mr. Strachan on 14.1.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor. So this is, the introduction report was presented to council at the last meeting. This report is bringing forward the OCP amendment bylaw as well as the zoning bylaw, as well as proposing a scheduled date for a public hearing on April 9th, 2018. And this application is for an OCP amendment and rezoning in order to allow for farm help dwelling on the subject property. So the proposal is to rezone a portion of the property, not the property in its entirety. And it's a rural property at the western end of Summerland. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Council questions as planner. Okay, would someone like to bring a motion forward, please? Councillor Holmes.
Written.
Thank you. Seconder, please. Councillor Trainer, thank you. Any further discussion? CAO.
Go ahead.
Let's
Take
just-
the vote. I
Okay.
can speak after.
Okay. Okay, all in favor? Motion carries. Opposed? Motion carried. Go ahead.
So I just wanted clarification that that was first and second reading for OCP and zoning and to schedule the public hearing, all three of them?
Yes. Okay, so we're good. Moving on to councillor reports, starting with Councillor Peak.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. In attending the KVR board meeting, I'd like to let people know that they are refurbishing another coach car to increase their capacity, and they have their AGM coming up on April 7th at 1 p.m. Anyone interested in attending, and of course, the more members that they can acquire, the better they can in terms of looking for grant funding. We had a presentation today from the Arts Council, but I would also like to emphasize the work that the Art Council has been doing in branding, and they are also having a presenting Friday night live, and it's going to be every 2 weeks. The first Friday night is March 16th, this Friday at 7 p.m., and Tracy Fair and Dennis Nordland are doing the music for that, and they're taking a skipping over the March break and then going back into it, and that Friday evening will go through until the end of June. So I'd like people to be aware that that's happening. The council is doing great work in getting more people into that building.
Thank you. Councillor Holmes. Okay. Councillor Booth.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll be very quick with this. I just wanted to add my thanks and congratulations to the Chamber of Commerce. The gala was very interesting on, not last Saturday, the Saturday before already, so 10 days ago or so. On this last Saturday, I attended the Okanagan-Similkameen Healthy Living Fair in Penticton, and it was well attended. As I mentioned a minute ago, Ivan Coyote was there as the keynote speaker. City of Penticton and RDOS and Smart Cities Penticton were also there, as well as a number of healthy living exhibits. It was quite interesting. I, as the Chamber of Commerce liaison from the council, I would like to welcome the three new Chamber of Commerce directors. Lori Weir, who is co-owns Barn Owl Gifts on Main Street, Lauren Forsyth, who co-owns Grasslands Nursery, and Jason Goy, who has a construction company here in Summerland. So welcome to those three. There is one, if Eric could confirm this, there's one director's spot left open, right? And their AGM is March the 20th at the Waterfront Resort from 5 to 7. So the AGM is a really extra fun event too. And lastly, I attended the First Things First AGM, First Things First Okanagan AGM a week ago Thursday, and as most people know, they are concerned with sustainability, including alternative energy, and are thrilled that we have that community gas tax fund for the solar array. Thank you.
Councillor Barkle.
Thank you. I attended the museum AGM, as did Councillors Peak and Holmes, and I'd like to note that the Museum Society has had a successful year, and they've got great plans for the coming year. There was one position left open on the board. They always need volunteers. There's some interesting work that can be done with the Museum Society, so if anybody has an interest, just go over there and volunteer, and they'll show you what to do. And I would like to say congratulations to the business I nominated for one of the categories in the Chamber of Commerce Awards. Noah's Ark Metalwork won in their category, so I'm happy there.
Good. Councillor Trainer.
On March 21st, which is a Wednesday, we're having a Bike to Work Week planning meeting for this year. The name has changed this year to Go by Bike to encourage more people to bike. And it's at 4 o'clock again on March 21st. And our committee from last year, many people have things going on this year, so they won't be able to participate. So we are looking for more people to come out and help. And Angelique Wood is leading this from the district side, which has been really great. So if anybody would like to come to that, that would be great. The more people we have, the better of an event that we can make it. And then on March 24th, which is a Saturday, we are hosting down in Trout Creek the 11th community cleanup. So we have one in the spring and we have one in the fall. And after the snow melts, there's a lot of garbage that you can see. It's all along the highway. So looking forward to cleaning that up on March 24th. That's it.
Okay.
Quick question to
Yeah.
Aaron. Time of the meeting for the Go by Bike?
Oh, 4 o'clock.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye, bye, bye.
Go by Bike.
Go by bike.
That's the other one.
So you have no excuse if you don't have a job. You can still ride your bike now.
Okay, can I have a motion for, actually, I'm jumping the queue here. Any questions from the public or no, questions, comments from the public? 2 minutes, if you so wish. You really a member of the public? I guess you are.
Hello, my name is Eric Thompson. I'm the chair of the Summerland Skate Park Committee and also the outgoing president of the Summerland Chamber of Commerce. A couple of quick notes on the skate park that I thought I should mention before you have to deliberate for too long, Richard. So a couple of things I think that are important. The school district has donated this land, and I'm not sure exactly how that works, but I don't know that that will go on forever. So if we delay and delay and delay, it could go away. I also think in the conversations I've had with many groups, including the Kinsmen, that might be a consideration as a location for a public washroom, because we have ball tournaments, we have soccer players there, we have walkers, and of course, when people are using the skate park, it might be something to consider. On that note, I've heard a number of comments about who uses a skate park. It's not just a skateboard park, it's for skateboarders, longboards, regular boards, but it's also for children on bikes, little push bikes. We've seen that in the Lower Mainland. We've seen some of the skate parks down there. We have little kids on push bikes. You have the scooters. So it is a wide range of people that use it. And it is a community gathering place. I've been to many, many skate parks where I've seen people, grandparents watching their children, and that's a great place for people to hang out. It's an accessible park as well, so anyone in scooters or wheelchairs can actually access it. And there is a lazy river design, so if they really wanted to, they could take their wheelchair or scooter down that. A couple of other things too. The old park, we have an old park. It's outdated. It's dangerous, and it's in a bad location. So it's done. So it's not like we already have a park, why don't we fix it up? Because I've asked that question. It's not really an option. And finally, I spoke with someone on the coast who is from Summerland and said that 2 of her siblings have passed away. They're older. And she said it would be great to have a bench for them at the park, and whether we decide to put benches at the park or not, it was encouraging that she thought that would be a good place to honor her family members. And you know, if we want a community that's healthy and if we want a community that's vibrant with young people, we have to build it. We can't say, come to Summerland and live here and we'll build some other stuff once you show up. we really have to create the community that we want to see. And this is, I think, a big option to do that, a good option. And the public involvement, I've been to so many different events here where 8 people volunteer for this. You know, it's the same 8 people over and over again, so to speak. There is a lot of interest in this. I think people just have this feeling that magically it's going to appear and that lots of people are working behind the scenes, so I don't think it's from lack of interest. So thank you.
I'd just like to add to that. I'm actually quite interested that there's a possibility that a wheelchair could be used in a facility like this, because I've been really, put off by the idea of actually being on a skateboard myself. But the idea of having 4 wheels under me somewhere down the road, maybe 20 years from now, if it doesn't happen any sooner, once I get out of golf, I could be looking at a skate park in a wheelchair. That
You'll probably
is
find a lot of people who volunteer to give you a push.
I'm sure. Maybe they will have forgotten by that time. But no, that would be kind of cool, in a wheelchair. Anyway, press, any questions? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Donna Wall, Latimer Avenue. Firstly, I'd like to thank you all in person for all the effort and research done by you and by staff in the long drawn-out process, now commonly known as Banks Crescent. It's now well known by thousands of people around the Okanagan and beyond that Summerland is home to a jewel of nature. We know it as Shaughnessy Springs. Hundreds of us have known that for many years, and I'm happy that now everybody knows and appreciates how precious that jewel is. I think you all did a very good job in weighing up all the information you had on the Banks Crescent development. It's just unfortunate that it did take so many hundreds of staff hours to keep a potential developer happy that due diligence was done. So maybe there's something to be looked at there in the way of due diligence. However, I don't think we're quite done yet, and that is the actual piece of land. As the Vice President of the FFSBC, Tim Yasaki, said that the FFSBC owns the water license of Shaughnessy Springs, and it's essential that they receive the quantity and the quality of the water afforded to their operations by that license. This land needs to be protected. Remember, the next developer could just be around just around the corner. And I'm not sure that any of you, and I certainly don't want to go through the whole fiasco again. So as current council, my question to you is, what is going to be done to make sure that that land is not only protected now, but forever? Is the municipality, going to buy it and maybe make it into a park or a nature reserve? Is it going to be put into the ALR where it belongs, or I think most of us feel it belongs? Or is council going to change the OCP back to the way it was and put it back as agricultural land?
Okay, thank you. Actually, we've let you have all the time. Thank you very much.
Oh.
But no questions. Just appreciate
that is a question.
I know it is, but appreciate the comment, and we'll be looking.
Is it being looked into at all? Any of those options?
At this point in time, it's a private piece of land, so we don't know. Anyway, no, we're not going to get into a back and forth discourse on it.
Okay.
Anyway, thank you very much. The press.
Yes. What are the times on March the 22nd for the presentations on the financial plan?
The open house is between 3 o'clock and 7 o'clock. Formal presentation at 6 o'clock. So between 6 and 7 will be the formal presentation.
Okay, and that's sent to the
Yes.
Now, is that an hour 6 to 7 or 6 and then again at 7?
No, it's just going to be one presentation this time, so 6 till 7 or how long it takes to answer all the questions.
Okay. Did you want to speak now?
Arena banquet room. The arena banquet room.
Okay, one more, and then we'll adjourn, please.
Jeanette McLaughlin, 5481 Solly Road. I'm just here to make a comment. I'd like to thank Mayor Peter Waterman and Councillor Janet Peake for having the vision to vote yes for Banks Crescent. And the rest of you are going to have a tough road to be back on this council.
Thank you. I have a motion for adjournment, please. Councillor Holmes, Councillor Barkle, all in favor? Thank you. Adjourn.